Yes, so excited to work with you again in a few months. That's been everybody just so thrilled. Audience and the orchestra and the soloist. And of course, you don't need introduction. Everybody knows you, and our audience already knows you. You work with us many times, and you're the, the key part of the festival. So I wanted to ask you, you work with many orchestras during the regular seasons and also during the festival. What is the importance of summer festivals, and what is your take on a festival as a concept in general?
Well, the summer festival is really extraordinary because the atmosphere changes. Um, it becomes more relaxed, quite frankly. You're not very often you're not in a concert hall in the same kind of setting. In our case, of course, we're doing it in a park, quite frankly, not dissimilar from the New York Philharmonic playing in Central Park. It means that the audience is more relaxed. They don't necessarily feel like they have to get dressed up. They don't have to pay. It's free in our case. And even at a place like Tanglewood, where the audience is a paying audience, the atmosphere is also very much different than it is during the regular season at Symphony Hall in Boston. It's a much more relaxed, much more, in a sense, enjoyable as not to say it's not serious. Of course, it's serious, but it's not serious in the same way, and it gives us an opportunity to expand the audience because people very often are afraid of concert halls, have never been or don't know. They come to the park, in our case, and they hear us and they say, wow, this is exciting and wonderful. I'm going to come to the concerts now as well in the wintertime. So it gives us a chance to introduce great music and the great orchestra to the community without any restrictions. It's a very enjoyable experience for everyone involved, the musicians, me, the conductor, the soloists, and of course the audience.
Yeah, and I hear that all the time. People say, well, there's intimidation factor to go to the concert hall. Well, first of all, you have to dress up, you have to wear a jacket, and then it's expensive, and then you have to know stuff about music. But here, you can just come and enjoy, for free, like you said. I don't know if we ever talked about that. The first time I worked with you, it was an Aspen Music Festival. I came as a student in early 90s, and you came to conduct Shostakovich 10.
I remember very well.
Uh,
it was very exciting. I mean, for me, I grew up going to Aspen. When I was 19 was when I first went. Then I went for 7 years, and I became the teacher of trumpet there, and I conducted there, and I was a member of the board of directors for the time I was there.
hmm,
I was the head of the music committee, and of course, Aspen has exactly that kind of atmosphere. The concerts, most of the important concerts are done in a tent. It's not about perfect acoustics, but
right.
it's about enjoying the beautiful country. And in Aspen, of course, the coolness and the dry air and the mountains all around you, not with snow. So when we do our concerts in downtown Vancouver, downtown Vancouver is beautiful. And then we have this fantastic park right in the middle of the city.
Mhm.
And it just it will create the kind of extraordinary memories that you and I both have of being in Aspen.
Yeah. And so about the festivals, you've done quite a few festivals. Are there any ones that you actually started or been on the ground level that started from nothing?
Yeah, I started one in New Jersey called the Waterloo Festival.
Oh,
So what
okay.
I did is after I left Aspen, there was a village of 19th century village, an original village,
Hmm.
with grist mill and wind and all that stuff. And they had a tent, and we started a school there. And in 1970, seven, I think, 76, 76. And I did that for about 8 years. And then even though I didn't start mostly Mozart, I was the first music director
Mhm.
there at the center. So mostly Mozart was in existence for about 10 years. And then they wanted a music director, and I became the music director for the next 20 years. Then we did a number of festivals in when I was in Seattle in the summertime. We
Mhm.
did a Mozart festival there. We did a light classics festival, which I really like
Okay.
because light classics, the music of Franz and Sun
Mhm.
Rossini, all these things, it's almost never played. And so it gave us a chance to play some of those. Used to be saved for pop concerts when Arthur Fiedler was doing pop concerts in
Mhm.
Boston, when they were maybe a little more serious than pop concerts are now. But the main one that I started was Waterloo, and Waterloo was a huge success. I mean, it was great. I ended up leaving because I was doing Waterloo and mostly Mozart at the same time, and it was rough going. There were a lot of performances, a lot of concerts. There was TV shows. I mean, it was. I just couldn't. I couldn't. After a while, it got to be too much for me to do
Mhm.
both. So when I made the choice, obviously, I chose Lincoln Center.
So I remember this one. You and I were working on some project about 5, 6 years ago, and kind of you had that idea about starting the American Music Festival, and I at that time I kind of thought after working with Michael Kaiser, we thought about starting some kind of festival, but you had an idea to start American music festival, and then we combined everything, and then city of Vancouver got excited and enthusiastic. And our first year, it was mostly American music, right? We started with only American music and then kind of expanded it to American influenced music, which included Rachmaninoff, the variation on Paganini theme, and then the Dvorak. Yeah, you remember that?
I do. I mean, I must say, Rachmaninoff was an American citizen.
Right.
Uh, Dvorak wasn't, but he wrote the New World Symphony living in New York. And yes, you're right. It started out we were trying to find something that was unique, something that's not been done lately. And when we were talking about American, we weren't talking about a festival like they have in Ojai in California,
Mhm.
which is a new music festival. We were talking about a festival of American music from the late 19th century until the 21st century, until the present day, because there was so much great music that most people don't know. And we thought, wouldn't it be marvelous to have a festival exposing this great, unusual music that's forgotten, not because it's not wonderful. Of course, then we started thinking that that's great and that's wonderful and that's very sophisticated, and in a way, maybe we're better off doing the American influence one, so that we could include pieces like the Dvorak New World Symphony and Rachmaninoff and so forth. And I think what we care about as artists, we care about great performances and we care about great composers. We care deeply about the audience. And
Yeah.
so you and I, Igor, debating this issue, it's not about doing a festival for the critics because they're going to say, God, we've never heard this work of Edward McDowell or David Diamond or Walter Piston before, and how exciting, which is great. And I love doing that. But also, you want to do stuff that the audience, music that the audience loves already. And we've been that combination of something that's a little new, something that's old, something that's familiar, and something that's not familiar has really worked for us. And I think that's the direction we've gone in. And as they say, the audiences vote with their feet. And in our case, they come. So they're voting that they like what we're doing.
So the first, I really didn't know what to expect, and Master Bretons embraced the idea, and of course our board embraced the idea, but I really didn't know what to expect. And the first year was such a colossal success. 30,000 people attended, according to the city of Vancouver data, But then this second year, we decided just open the programming, and then Maestro Brotons wanted to do all Tchaikovsky, and it was a colossal success. We had a 1812 overture, and then Capriccio Espagnol, and all that, and other things. And then you had an idea to do all Beethoven five.
What you've done, Igor, in guiding this incredible festival is that, we go from strength to strength. I mean, talk about this summer, we have Renée Fleming coming. I mean, one of the great stars of the classical music world anywhere. And she's coming to us, to our concert in the park with the Vancouver Symphony. I mean, wow, that's really special. And it doesn't happen because the Vancouver Symphony, where is that? Vancouver, Washington. No, it's come because we have established ourselves, making a wonderful reputation for the orchestra, a wonderful reputation for the quality of the audience and the quality of the city. I think it's quite something that we're having Renée.
And you know her, right? You work together. So what should our audience expect?
So half a concert of, Verdi and Puccini and Handel, excuse me, and then half a concert which is basically American, Copland and Richard Rodgers and Oscar Hammerstein. I mean, it's very exciting, and what she does so much, and she has this incredible personality on the stage. Great singer, yes, but she's she's one that invites you in. She's up there singing, and it's like you're singing for me personally.
Mhm.
It's really quite something.
Well, we are so excited. I know our audience is incredibly excited, but the orchestra also. I'm thrilled. I'm excited. And then the last concert of the festival, you're gonna finish with a bolero, Ravel bolero that everybody loves. Bolero. Every time we play it, it's always a nearly sold out experience.
Well, what's interesting about when I was growing up, my father was a surgeon, very big music lover, and he'd play recordings for me, especially German repertoire. He was Austrian, Mozart, Haydn, Schubert, Schumann, especially Beethoven.
Mhm.
Those were his. But then he would have the composers that aren't on his A list. And for each of those not A-list composers, whether it be French or whether it be American or whether it be Italian, it was a piece. And he would say, "Oh, son, we're going to listen to Ravel today,
Mhm.
Bolero. That's the piece that you have to know of Ravel." Now, look, Ravel wrote Daphnis and Chloe. I mean, he wrote the Mother Goose. I mean, he wrote the G major piano concerto. I mean, he wrote some exquisite music. Great, great composer. But if you're from Vienna and you want to do Ravel, you do Bolero. And
Sure.
what is it? It's an extraordinary piece. Of course, we all know the Bolero rhythm that begins from the beginning and goes to the end.
Mhm.
And then we know the Bolero, in this case, tune or tunes, two basic melodies
Mhm.
that Ravel has written. It is just, Ravel, in my opinion, was the greatest orchestrator of all time. And you listen to the Bolero, I mean, or you listen to his orchestration of Pictures in an Exhibition. I mean, it's clear as a bell. No one can orchestrate the way he does. And in fact, on that same program, we're doing the 1919 version of the Firebird of Stravinsky.
Mhm.
Stravinsky was a great orchestrator. And of course, he studied a little bit with Rimsky-Korsakov, who was the other great orchestrator,
Mhm.
Russian style. And so, in a way, their music make for a great match between the Stravinsky and the Ravel in terms of our ears and the compatibility and the great orchestration. And of course, the great ballet music.
And we're also doing something unusual at this concert. A couple of years ago, I got invited to attend a premiere of the guitar concerto in Florida, and I went to I think it was Miami, and I experienced this Karen Lafrac concerto played by Sharon Isbin, and it was absolutely outstanding. I was just completely blown away. It's such a great piece. You know, it's a very rhythmical and some Latin rhythms, and so I'm so thrilled that
Yes.
we're doing it again.
Well, this piece, this Miami Concerto that Karen wrote, is just dynamite. Talk about fun. Talk about toe tapping.
Yeah.
Full Latin rhythms, and in a way, it really represents what Florida's like, especially in Miami. It is, I mean, it's full of Cuban refugees, of people from Colombia and from Venezuela and from the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. I mean, it's a vibrant Latin community, and she embraced that and wrote this wonderful guitar concerto. Of course, Sharon Isbin is maybe the foremost guitar soloist in the world.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so we have Sharon, who's extraordinary, and Karen Lefrak, who wrote this charming piece that Sharon premiered and now will be doing for us.
I have just a last question. How do you think this festival should grow? What do you, in your experience in the past, what do you see how this could develop?
Well, it's a very good question, of course, because standing still is not an option in our lives, not in yours and not in mine. We're always thinking about how can it be better? What can we do to make it better for the community, for the audience, for the orchestra? And I think they're two obvious things. The most important would be to have a deeper educational element.
We just started the youth orchestra, and so you agreed to conduct
Oh,
second
yes.
and second and fourth movement of Beethoven, and so the idea was to start this VSO Youth Virtuosi. It's unlike anything else that in the area because we don't charge tuition and we work with public schools. So we work with the teachers and they selected 54 students from 11 schools. So the most advanced students, and we already had like 3 or 4 rehearsals, and the kids just, they're so enthusiastic, they're so energetic, and they're improving. It's all about accessibility and exposure to music.
That's very exciting. Well, congratulations. That's a great start to the next chapter in the festival's life.
Thank you so much for talking to me. Do you have anything else you wanted?
Well, just to say what a joy it is to work with your wonderful orchestra. They're just fantastic, and to work with you on an artistic, personal level is second to none. And so I'm very grateful to the opportunity, and I can't wait to be in the beautiful country, God's country again.